My name's Pat Spain, and I am a stage 3 colon cancer survivor. That's not the only thing in my life, though. I have kind of a varied history. I auditioned for a show called King of the Jungle 2 on Animal Planet, and I ended up getting it. I went down to Florida and filmed for about 6 weeks this entire wildlife show and just loved every second of it. And it was actually on the 4th shoot when we were in Sumatra, on about a 3-day hike from any of the closest civilization, when I started feeling sick. And getting sick on one of these shoots is not too surprising. So I wasn't sure what was going on, but I knew I had the worst stomach ache that I'd ever had in my life. I opted not to go to the hospital in rural Sumatra, which was probably a good call, and found my way back to the States, after filming, because about a day went by and I felt relatively okay. I felt well enough to continue on with the shoot. As soon as I got back to the States, I went into the doctor and I started explaining my symptoms. I spent the next 6 months being misdiagnosed, diagnosed with everything you can think of, from stress to gluten allergies. And after a few months of this, I realized that the only way that I was going to eliminate anything else that this could possibly be is to get a colonoscopy. So I call up my doctor and I say, look, I really want to get a colonoscopy. He said, you've got to be the first patient who's ever asked for that, but let's get this scheduled, let's see what's happening. And right around that time, I actually noticed some bleeding. That was really when the doctor took notice and said, okay, you know what, yeah, let's do this. I'm going to order this colonoscopy and we'll see what happens. So I go in for the colonoscopy, and the last thing I remember before being put under is the doctor looking at me and saying, Pat, I hope this is going to ease your mind. I really don't think this is necessary, but it's the last thing that'll just eliminate any other possibilities of what this could be. So I said, okay, go to sleep, and I wake up, and the doctor had a very different expression on his face. It turned out what they found was a large tumor that was obstructing a pretty fair amount of my colon. And the doctor says, look, I can't say for 100% right now, but I do believe that this is colon cancer. And all of a sudden you hear cancer, and that's a full stop. That is, you are going to be in the hospital, you are going to deal with this, and you have to focus on getting through this. So that's what I did. I went into the hospital. I had my first surgery was 2 weeks after my diagnosis, and my first surgery was great. It was much more routine and much more, I guess, just easier than I ever imagined it would be. A little bit of abdominal pain afterward, but I was out of the hospital in 2 days. I was home and I was joking around with my friends, about I can't wait to put colon cancer behind me, pun intended. And I was home, I was feeling good. I convinced my girlfriend to go to work. I told her that, you don't need to stay with me, I'm fine. I was a very, very independent person, really didn't like to rely on anyone's help. Convinced her to go to work, and about 4 hours after she left, I was on the floor. No idea, it just hit me instantly. Something was wrong, and I didn't know what that was, and got rushed to the emergency room. They had to, just open me and clean everything out, get rid of all of the gunk, for a scientific term, that had been in my intestines. Flush it all out and install a ostomy bag. So I dealt with it. I had to change my attitude, I had to change my focus, I had to realize that this is what I'm going to do to save my life. This is what the doctors, the amazing doctors, have done to save my life. And it was tough. There were some real days that I never thought that I'd get back to being myself. I never thought that I'd be able to go back out hiking or catching these animals or living with these tribes or exploring the world or flying or having a normal relationship with anybody. I thought that I'm going to have this bag for the rest of my life, and this is going to define who I am. And that was hard. That was hard to deal with. But my family was incredible. My wife was absolutely amazing and the strongest person that I can imagine. I honestly believe that the entire experience was much harder on her because I could focus on other things. I could focus on the pain. I could focus on a little bit of self-pity. She didn't have any of that. She just focused on the person that she loves is lying there. And I know that was very, very hard for her. So I'm continually amazed with my wife, Anna, and my entire family and how they dealt with this. So I got out of the hospital, and the day I walked into our apartment, I started to realize that this was going to be okay, and there was a normal life again. And even if I had this bag, even if I had, a little bit of diminished mobility or whatever it was, I was going to be able to get through this. And I started focusing on all of the great things in my life as soon as I got home, and I started pushing myself again. And I started just looking towards what's the next step, what's the thing that I'm going to do to get to the next level, what am I going to do to beat this disease? Talk to the doctor and say, this bag isn't permanent. You will be able to get rid of it. Here's what you need to do. Here's the step that you need to get to. I had chemo. I had to focus on, I'm going to do chemo. I'm going to put all of this behind me. I'm going to put all of this in the past. I also knew that it wasn't going to stop me from all of the things that I still had to do. I'd accomplished a lot at this point in my life, but there was still a lot more that I wanted to do. So I got back my Nature Calls crew. I called up one of my best friends, Dom, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind, coming out with this crazy sick guy and filming some more snakes. So we did. So as soon as I started feeling well enough, I reached out to different cancer societies and I said, look, I need a way to turn this into something positive. I need a way to take this moment of my life and make something out of it. I don't want to have just lost, close to a year of my life. I want this to be something that I can use, something that I can help other people with, and at the same time help myself. I started going to different events and telling people my story and telling them that there is life after cancer, and it's okay to move on. It's okay to do other things. It's okay to be excited about life again. And it's a life-changing disease, as many of them are, but it is not the defining moment of your life unless you make it that, for better or worse. This is something that you can get past, and you can allow great things into your life again. It's amazing to have gone through this and come out the other side and know how incredible life is on the other side of cancer, and how cancer is a huge part. What happened to me is a huge part of my life, but it's not the defining moment. It's not, the first thing that you tell people when you meet them, and it's certainly not something that I hide.